On track now to set the grid for the second of this weekend's races, the 10th round of the 2018 Euroformula Open season. You join myself, Ben Evans, on another gloriously sunny morning here at Silverstone. Perfect conditions for qualifying, and we will see if anybody can take the fight to Felipe Drugovich. The Brazilian is the runaway championship leader, and yesterday he scored his 8th victory of the season, his 7th in succession, completing the clean sweep of pole position, fastest lap, and the race win. Finishing runner-up yesterday was Bentley Skull. It was his second place finish in succession, and the podium was rounded out by Lucas Dunner, who drove superbly in his DriveX entry to fend off the challenge of both Alex Karkozic and Marcus Siebert. So that was how yesterday's 15-lap race unfolded. They've got 30 minutes to play with for qualifying, and what we would probably expect to see is that they will spend the first half of this session on a used set of the control Michelin tire that they will run with before we get the shootout for pole position in the final minutes of the session. Yesterday, Felipe Drugovich was absolutely imperious through qualifying, eventually ending up on pole position, almost a second clear of the rest of the field. Alex Karkozic rolling down the pit lane, having completed an installation lap. The Campos Racing team getting to work, bolting on some new tyres. I don't think it's a completely new set, possibly at the rear. Doesn't look like brand new, certainly on the front of the car. And then Karkozic will head back out onto this 3-mile Silverstone circuit. There is Aldo Festante, who is with his 3rd team of the season this weekend, the Teo Martin Motorsport squad. And Festante having a great scrap for 10th place yesterday with Guilherme Samaya. Here is the championship leader, Felipe Drugovich, 231 points is his tally for the season so far. Vizsgál second in the standings, by contrast, 129 points. Drugovich inching ever closer towards the championship crown. Still 6 races to go, of course, after the checkered flag today, but it is eminently possible, given his advantage. The winning streak continues through Monza. He may even wrap up the crown there before they head on to Jerez and then the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. Skittering out a little bit wide over the curbs on the exit of Luffield before powering through Woodcote this weekend. We're on the full Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, but we are using the historic pit complex rather than the wing pits. And so Copse Corner representing the first turn on the lap as Drugovich accelerates over the slight rise in the road into Maggots and Beckett's, this sinuous section of circuit, before picking up the throttle again through Chapel Curve, absolutely planted and on his way. Marcus Siebert also into the Campos pits for a quick change round, and the car actually dropping off the jacks there. The mechanic's going to have to try and elevate the front manually. They managed to do so. So here is Lucas Dunner then, 3rd place yesterday, and he was under sustained pressure from Alex Karkozic throughout the course of the race. But the Austrian driver absorbed all the pressure, just stuck to the racing line and forced Karkozic to do all the hard work, and that was to very good effect in the end. As he scored his maiden podium in the championship, was also enough to consolidate 8th place in the championship standings, because whilst the race for the title is looking decidedly one-sided at the moment, the battle for second in the championship between Bentley Skull, Matheus Iorio and Marcus Siebert is very much alive and kicking. Vizsgál on 129 points, Iorio on 111 points, with Siebert on 103 points. And Vizsgál and Iorio, almost their seasons being mirrors of each other, which is that Iorio was on the podium really consistently through the first few meetings of the year, but he's not been on the rostrum since race 1 at Spa, finishing somewhat disappointing for him at 7th place yesterday, whereas Vizsgál hasn't been off the podium since the 2nd race at Spa. Marcus Siebert, the only other driver to have won a race this year, 4th in the points. That came in Estoril Back in April, he was also on the rostrum in both of the races at the Hungaroring. Glimpse there of Callum Williams, the Australian driver for the Fortec team, and Williams, who qualified a superb 5th yesterday, but then was the driver who probably lost out the most, really, during the early jostling as they went through Copse and through Maggotts and Beckett's. He then had a bit of a moment coming out of the loop later on in the race, across the AstroTurf. That delayed him a little bit. Meant that he finished in 9th place, currently 12th in the standings. Callum Williams, his best result of the season being a 6th place in race 1 at the Hungaroring. Here comes Ben Fiscal then, down the Wellington Straight. Fiscal, who was on pole in the Hungaroring, race 2. He'll be hoping, if he can, to try and overhaul Felipe Drugovich once more. Fiscal has looked the driver most likely to in recent races as he heads out of Luffield through Woodcote. And every indication that this is going to be the fastest lap of the session. Indeed it is, a 1 minute 54.237. So that leaves him 0.999 of a second clear of Lucas Dunner. Callum Williams currently 3rd from Aldo Festante and Mateus Iorio. But, as we say, pretty much every time, there isn't too much to be read into the time set in the early stage of the session. There's a big twitch there for Fiscal as he heads through Beckett's and the Chapel Curve. And the Hanger Straight goes on for an absolute eternity. This camera angle makes it look a little bit shorter than it is, but the drivers need to carry as much speed out of Chapel Curve as possible, because even if they're just a fraction of a mile an hour down, it will play out through the Hanger Straight, then through Stowe Corner into the Vale, and then towards the club complex. And this lap for Fiscal not looking likely to be an improvement. Felipe Drugovich, he's not his back right out of it. Felipe Drugovich is up into 2nd position now as Christian Hahn sits poised in the pit lane. Hahn had to take evasive action the first lap of yesterday's race, running a little bit wide through Beckett. Side put off the car. Drivex team getting to work there. Not sure quite what the issue could be. Whatever it is, however, they have re-secured it, so he should be back on his way. He is the only driver who's currently in the pits. Here is Felipe Drugovich, and Drugovich not looking too likely to improve on this lap. There's his RP Motorsport teammate Guilherme Smar, just in front of the championship leader, the 2 Brazilian drivers, both of whom we saw briefly in the championship last year. Drugovich making a one-off appearance in Barcelona, scoring a sensational victory. Guilherme Smar did a half-season campaign with the Carlin team. Drugovich accelerating out of the loop. 3rd of the way through the session. Cameron Dass and Callum Williams both on good laps at the moment, as is Alex Karkozic. Karkozic goes 3rd then for the Campos team, and Polish driver looking for his 2nd rostrum of the season. He was runner-up in race 2 in Spa. He's navigating through Copse Corner, Felipe Drugovich. Maximum commitment. Copse a really satisfying corner to drive in these slicks and wings single-seater cars. And then through Beckett's as well. And Drugovich is clearly pushing on this lap. He's using all the grip available to him. So he accelerates onto the Hanger Straight. Meanwhile, Callum Williams goes 2nd with a 1 minute 54.341. Ben Fiscal also on a good lap. Fractionally quicker, in fact, than Felipe Drugovich through the 1st sector. So we are following Drugovich as Cameron Dass pops up into 4th. So the order: Fiscal from Williams, Drugovich, Dass, and then Karkozic. Be interesting to see what the middle sector times tell us. Fiscal giving away a little bit of ground, a 1/10 of a second or so away from where he would want to be, but he's still on course to marginally improve. What about Drugovich? will know the end of the second sector when he comes out of the loop. Here is Viscal around the right-hand hairpin at Luffield. It's a corner that goes on for an absolute eternity as Marcus Siebert goes quickest. A 1 minute 53.843. Viscal pops into second, a 1 minute 54.141. Felipe Drugovich is going to improve his time, but from the first couple of sectors, I think is unlikely to pit Marcus Siebert. We shall see as he accelerates into Woodcote now. Across the line, and Drugovich goes second, just a quarter of a second or so adrift of Marcus Siebert, the only driver to dip into the 1 minute 53 second bracket. So this is thus far a little bit of a closer qualifying duel than we had yesterday morning. Yesterday, Drugovich, by the way, setting pole position with a time of a 1 minute 52.385. Marcus Siebert, his best time in qualifying was 1 minute 53.6. So he's within a couple of tenths of a second of that as we are back with the Argentine driver now. Siebert and Viscal again on good laps. The pair of them different points on the circuit. Siebert accelerating towards the end of the second sector now, across the white line that denotes it, and a little bit adrift through the second sector compared to where he was last time. It's still going to be a good lap, this, from the Argentine, and possibly will be quicker than anybody else has gone thus far in the session. As he heads around the right-hander at Luffield, through towards Woodcote. It's a 1 minute 53.843 he needs to beat, and that is a 1 minute 53.892. So he's the only driver who's been in the 1 minute 53 second bracket. This lap again, to all indications, is going to be faster than the ones that both Felipe Drugovich and Ben Viscal are currently on. Christian Hahn has just posted his best time of the session, a 1 minute 55.380. Look here, Felipe Drugovich hard at work. The Dallara F312 chassis having to really be stretched to the maximum. That all the aerodynamic grip available to Drugovich as he's on that razor's edge where he's got all the grip in the world, and then transitioning to none at all. Drugovich and Viscal, meanwhile, into the pits. Siebert wouldn't be unsurprised to see him ducking into the pits before too long as we approach the midpoint of the session. And a good result this afternoon for Marcus Siebert could see him moving up to third in the championship if Matheus Iorio were to have another day towards the middle of the top 10. So out of the loop once more, and through entry down the Wellington Straight then for Marcus Siebert. This is a good lap from Siebert. Whether or not he's going to come through and complete it or just take the learning through the second half of the session, we shall see. But what it certainly bodes well for is really good race pace from Siebert later on today. As he accelerates out of Luffield, he is going to complete the lap. That is a time of a 1 minute 53.626 from Marcus Siebert, and that is a little bit quicker than he went in qualifying yesterday. Just wonder if he's maybe gone for an alternate strategy for this session and doing something a little bit different with his tyre allocation. So, the classification, Siebert fastest, Drugovich second, Viscal third, Callum Williams in fourth, Cameron Dass in fifth. There is the Teo Marti Motorsport team at work. Debriefing Viscal. Looks like a brand new set of tyres for Viscal. We've not seen much of the Carlin cars. The best of those is currently Cameron Dass in fifth, Matheus Iorio in ninth, and Dev Gore, who's our newcomer to the championship this weekend, in 13th. Here is Yves Baltas, meanwhile, as he accelerates along the hangar straight. It's teammate Marcus Siebert, who is currently in pole position, Baltas in 6th. And Yves Baltas has just been getting a good run of results coming together the last couple of events. He's been in the points in 2 of the last 3 races, a solid 8th place yesterday. And so that is helping his campaign, all stitched together very nicely as there is the Carlin team at work. Up on the jacks for Cameron Das. Das, who finished 6th yesterday, edging out teammate Iorio. But neither of the Carlin drivers looked like they were quite able to latch into the fight for 3rd place. A few changes there. Looks like adjustments to the rear anti-roll bars, one way or the other. And a brand new set of Michelin tyres as well for Matheus Iorio. The Carlin team, they've had so many successes over the years here at Silverstone. They know exactly what they need to do and are just unhurried in the pits. And this is the beauty of a 30-minute qualifying session, the lap time being just shy of 2 minutes. When they do re-emerge, it will be probably 2 laps to get heat into the tyres, and then it will be all go. Up on the jacks as well for Lucas Dunner. Superb drive yesterday, as we were saying, to 3rd position. And converting an elevated grid position. He didn't quite manage to do that in Hungaroring. He certainly did it yesterday. And we'll see whether or not that gives him confidence to keep challenging for podiums through the second half of the campaign. In terms of the Rookie Championship, Dunner currently 2nd in that to Viscal. Viscal has really been the dominant driver in the Rookie Trophy, not unsurprisingly. Meanwhile, here is Christian Hahn, currently in 9th place. The sole car circulating, but Hahn probably having a slightly alternate approach to this qualifying session, having had to peel into the pits early on for the work that was done to the car. He's now out on track. His last lap was his best lap of the session. He's got some new tyres to play with. I expect we'll see him coming at the end of this lap as the engine note suggests he wasn't quite nailing full throttle through Aintree. So he gets on the brakes and shifts down through the gears, turns into Luffield. This is the point where we'll see whether or not he peels off. Indeed he does, so into the pit lane for Christian Hahn. So the whole field in the pits, just 11.5 minutes remaining in the session. Hahn rolls down towards the DriveX pit box and will be rolled back into position. All the teams by this stage of the season very well drilled in the qualifying routine. Laptops immediately ready to be plugged in. A quick look at the timing screens, quick look at the telemetry traces. So here is Dev Gore, who, the 21-year-old American, doing what he did yesterday, which is taking advantage of a completely empty track to get his run in, as this is a big learning weekend for the American, making the transition up to the Euroformula Open. And you'll see on the rear wing of the car, #GetWellWickens, because I think Dev Gore, like all of the motorsport community, sending our very best wishes to Robert Wickens after his incident in Pocono a few weeks ago, and of course a driver who's very, very popular with the Carlin team, having raced with them for several seasons. So the team and Dev Gore showing their support as Carlin alumni Colton Herta just edged out overnight for the Indy Lights Championship, losing out in Portland. Nonetheless, be very interesting to see whether Colton Herta can make the leap up to the IndyCar Series like another Euroformula Open alumni, Ed Jones, has done with success over the past couple of seasons. So this an out lap for Dev Gore. Next lap he'll start to be getting a little bit close to qualifying pace, and it'll be the lap after that where he will start to be setting some improved times. Matheus Iorio and Guilherme Smaia also have emerged out onto the circuit as well. All the while, of course, the session clock continues to tick downward. So Gore turns through Copse Corner, just runs out over the curb on the exit. The floor of the car grinding against the curb. He'll have really felt that because these cars are so stiffly sprung in terms of suspension, and the driver's feeling absolutely everything from that driving position so close to the ground as well. So out of Chapel Curve onto the Hangar Straight for Gore. Just those 3 cars then currently in circulation, everybody else remaining in the pit lane. And part of the challenge for the drivers is the length and abrasion of this Silverstone circuit means that when they do get the Michelin tyre up to its perfect heat cycle for a qualifying lap, it really is just a 1 or 2 lap window with which to set the time they need to. Gore picking up a warning flag for track limits. All 4 wheels over the white line means that you're potentially picking up the warning, and that coming over at Copse Corner, where we saw that he was out across the curb, so I don't think it will come as a great surprise to either Gore nor the Carlin team. However, the problem is once you pick up those warnings, if you do it again on a quick lap, you may well lose that time. So the bulk of the field now beginning to emerge from the pit lane in front of our commentary box and head out onto the circuit with 7.5 minutes to run. It's going to be fascinating to see how the rest of this session unfolds, because at this stage yesterday, Felipe Drugovich was very clearly in charge of proceedings. That's not the case today. Gore accelerates through Woodcut. This will then be into a flying lap, and Gore, relatively speaking, appreciably closer to the field than he was yesterday. He was 0.4 of a second adrift of the rest of the pack in yesterday's session, and at the moment he's only a couple of tenths adrift, but he gets caught a little bit in traffic as he turns towards Beckett's. That was Bentley Scull and Marcus Siebert just emerging from the, or rather Yves Baltas emerging from the pits, because there is Marcus Siebert ahead of Gore on the Hangar Straight. So accelerating down towards Stowe Corner, across the border from Northamptonshire into Buckinghamshire, through the Vale, and Gore is going to catch Siebert here at potentially an unfortunate part of the circuit. The Argentine driver will be just putting a little bit of temperature into the Michelins, and Siebert doing the gentlemanly thing, moving smartly aside, letting Gore get on with his lap. So through Abbey and Farm, on the brakes into Village, then around the left-hand kink at the loop. That will propel him into Aintree, down the Wellington Straight. See whether Gore's been able to maintain the improvement through the middle sector. Indeed he has. It's his best middle sector of the session. Meanwhile, Callum Williams is also on a good lap, and fairly good reason. He's right in the wheel tracks of Felipe Drugovich. Williams will be hoping to benefit from the tow, but also it's always good just to see what the championship leader is doing around the track, see if there's any little hints and tips to pick up in terms of the racing line. And with these drivers, no lap is wasted, even just an in-lap. They'll just be looking to test, is there a little bit of grip here that we haven't come across? Is there somewhere we could push if it happened to rain later on? As Gore has gone 10th for the lap that we were watching, the 1:54.916. Matheus Iorio is also on a good lap. He has just set the fastest middle sector of anybody in the session, as Callum Williams, I think, delayed somewhat behind Felipe Drugovich. So now we're starting with just 5 minutes to go, or just under 5 minutes even, to see some of the times beginning to tumble. Here comes Iorio, goes second, a 1:53.830 for Matheus Iorio, and that is actually not quite as quick as he managed in yesterday morning's qualifying period. Within a couple of thousandths of a second of it. Guilherme Samar goes third, 1:53.998. So Marcus Siebert's mark of 1:53.6 is still the outstanding time. But But we've now got drivers with the heat into the tyres, beginning to push for quick laps, and Matheus Yorio in pursuit of further improvement. So he runs a little bit wide out through Stowe. He may pick up a track limit incursion for that. We shall see. Felipe Drugovich, also quick through the first sector, 33.4 for him and Callum Williams. That compares, by the way, to a 33.8 for Matheus Yorio. So here are Felipe Drugovich and Callum Williams. So this is the chance for Drugovich once more to reinstate himself in pole position, which he has had a huge number this year. 7 pole positions for the Brazilian driver. Can he make it 8 from 10? We will find out. A very, very good middle sector from Drugovich. 6/10ths quicker than Callum Williams, who's pursuing him. And that gives you an indication, again, of the dominance, really, that Felipe Drugovich has had throughout the course of the season. Both Marcus Siebert and Ben Piscala are a lap behind Drugovich when it comes to the heat cycle for those tyres. So Felipe Drugovich accelerating through. This is going to be a good lap for him. It is a 1 minute 52.705. Fantastic lap from Drugovich, although, again, there's more to come compared to what he did yesterday. Marcus Siebert, meanwhile, is also on a good lap. He has just gone quicker than anybody through the first sector, so the shootout for pole position now well and truly crackling into life as Viscal goes quicker than anybody else through the first sector. So it's a 3-way fight for pole. Drugovich coming towards the end of the first sector on his second flyer on the new tyres. It's all the way down at the end of the hanging straight. Here is Viscal, and Drugovich giving away a couple of tenths of a second, in fact, to Ben Viscal through the first sector of the lap, but it's this middle sector where Drugovich has been so emphatic and dominant. And one of the challenges of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit are the inherent compromises that the drivers have got to make with the setup on the cars, because you can flatten out the rear wing to make it as slippery as possible down the long straights, but it makes the technical middle sector of the lap somewhat tricky. Viscal, though, continues to be up a little bit through the middle sector. See what Drugovich is able to offer by way of retaliation. Marcus Siebert's come past us, gone third. So the order is currently Drugovich from Cameron Dass, who's gone second. We didn't see that lap, but he is up in second. Siebert third. Callum Williams is fourth. Lucas Dunn fifth. But what can Ben Viscal do? He's up in the first 2 sectors. Has he sustained it across the line? And he goes quickest by 0.02 of a second. So a 1 minute 52.703 for Viscal, a 1 minute 52.705 for Felipe Drugovich. Teo Martin watching on the pit wall as Viscal lines up for another one. Drugovich has come past and didn't improve. He was thousandths of a second adrift. And this is a great session. We have got the top 4 cars separated by just 0.3 of a second. And we have got just 20 seconds left on the clock. And Viscal up again through the first sector. They're all on their final laps of the session. Neither Dass nor Siebert looking likely to post an improvement. So Viscal is only 0.003 of a second up through the first sector. And Felipe Drugovich a little bit adrift. Checker flag comes out. I think Drugovich's position on the front row of the grid is looking reasonably secure, depending on what Matheus Yorio could possibly wrestle from the car on the final lap of the session. Cameron Dass is through. He's taken the checker flag. A great drive from him for third. Siebert looking unlikely to improve, so he should line up in fourth. As Viscal a couple of tenths away. Don't think he actually needs to worry about that too much, because Felipe Drugovich, unless he does something phenomenal through the middle sector, isn't looking likely to post an improvement. And it would appear from the poise of the car that the Teo Martin Motorsport team have said exactly that to Viscal on the radio as he peels in and is looking likely to have set his second pole position in 3 races and his second pole position of the season. So Viscal rolls into the pit lane. We'll wait for Drugovich, though, to complete his lap, because Felipe Drugovich only needs to find 0.02 of a second, and he's there or thereabouts, I have to tell you. But Drugovich also peeling into the pit lane, so it is going to be a pole position, a second of the season for Ben Viscal. So he edges out by just 0.02 of a second Felipe Drugovich, to the delight of the Teo Martin Motorsport squad. Now, will the Dutch driver be able to convert the qualifying performance into victory? And Emilio de Vallota clearly delighted with his driver's performance. So the rest of the field all coming through to complete the session. Cameron Dass then a superb 3rd. Marcus Siebert starting 4th. Callum Williams once more well up there in 5th. And Lucas Dunner in 6th. So we have representation again from 6 different teams in the top 6 places. There you see it, with then Mateus Iorio to start from 7th, Yves Baltas in 8th, Guilherme Samaya and Aldo Fastante rounding out the top 10. Disappointing, therefore, for Alex Karkozik, because he will only start in 11th. The driver was knocking on the door of a podium yesterday. So frustration for him, with then Christian Hahn and Dev Gore to complete the field. And Gore much closer, though. So we will be back at just after 12:30 British Summer Time today for the 10th race of the Euroformula Open season. Until then, it's goodbye from Silverstone.